Hello and welcome to another episode of Just Onside. I'm your host for today, Luis, and I'm joined as always by Ayub. There he is in December. How are you doing, Ayub? All good?
Uh, I'm very good. I'm very good, especially considering the game from yesterday, which is over my shoulder. I've obviously I put it on intentionally, uh, so I can enjoy the moment again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, normally with your kids, it's unconditional love and all that. Many people know that you've got a son who famously supports Chelsea and what have you. How many times have you watched this game in the last 24 hours, Ayub?
I've watched the highlights. I've not watched the full highlights. I mean, these are obviously the extended highlights. This is so in about 2 minutes he should be scoring. So I'm looking forward to that. Uh, Full
I,
of a
I was,
header, absolute
it,
towering header.
yeah, I'm surprised Mo's not got hold of the remote and just deleted the game off the
Well, he's
highlights.
I
So,
don't know. He's not in the house at the moment. But really funny, I mean, because the thing is, I actually didn't watch the game live. I got back to my, old time style of just following the game on Twitter. So I sort of was going into the kitchen, so I saw the first goal. Uh, then I had some errands to do. I was checking the score, so I knew what was going on. It was 2-0, then it got to 2-1. So I was upstairs, and I have to be, I mean, if I'm in the bedroom is directly above here, which means that Mo was watching the game. So I'd
mm.
know what the score was. So I actually I didn't hide in the toilet, but I was in the toilet. And then I heard footsteps, heavy footsteps on the stairs. It sounded as if whoever was coming up the stairs was not happy. The only person that was in the house
Enough.
was Mo. So yeah, so I presumed that obviously Leeds must have scored. I checked whilst I was in the toilet. It was 3-1. So I let Mo come into the room. I gave it a few minutes. I came downstairs. I didn't watch the game until 90th minute because I checked the score and it was still 3-1. I thought, well, even Leeds are not going to concede two goals. So I watched, I think, the last 3 minutes.
I was going to say, you've given us a lesson there in household decorum when allegiances are split. Football allegiances are split. Say, give it a few minutes, and all that. Yeah, look, there's no other place to start, is there? You've given us already a little bit of an insight, but last night, Ellen Road, by all intents and purposes, absolutely bouncing. Must be one of the very best performances that Leeds have put forward in the last couple of stints in the Premier League. You've already given us a little bit of an insight in terms of how you follow the game, because that was what I was most interested by. Like, how do you actually follow last night's game? Because midweek games are always a little bit more
Hmm.
different dynamic at home or what have you, as opposed to, let's say, a Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening game. But incredible result, Ayub. Huge for the team. Tough result at the weekend when, by all intents and purposes, they deserved perhaps to get away with a draw at the Etihad. So, how does it feel, Ayub? You've competed incredibly well at the Etihad. You've got a huge results against two teams highly established in the upper echelons of English football. You must be incredibly pleased. And I'm going to give you the floor. I'm not going to interrupt. I'd like you to start off with your man, Daniel Fark. You've called for a long time for some tactical flexibility, for some acumen, some nous, some strategy, and perhaps in the last couple of games, Ayub, he's maybe starting to surprise you. Start there, Ayub. You must be delighted.
Or maybe he's starting to listen to the fans because we've been actually saying since the start of the season. I mean, it all goes back to the type of player that we've bought. We've bought very physical players, tall players, uh, not probably players blessed with finesse, but certainly blessed with power and strength. So therefore, if you're buying that type of player, you've obviously got to play a type of game which suits that type of player. Now, that's where we've had so much criticism of Daniel Fark because he's tried to play a style of football. These players just aren't capable of playing. So if you looked at fans' forums, we've been crying out for a 3-5-2. We're playing two up top, playing direct, using wing backs, putting the ball in the box. But he's resisted. He's a man who's got a big ego. I'm not sure why. I mean, he talks about his promotions, but he seldom talks about his relegations. So certainly from a fan's point of view, this is something that we've been absolutely desperately looking for Falk to do. So what he's done and on on Saturday, I mean, I'll talk about the game on Saturday as well. By default, I mean, we he started off playing his usual self or playing out from the back. You can't do that with these players. We were 2-0 down, and it looked as if it was going to be an absolute hammering. he changed the formation. He actually, for the first time this season, he went to a 3-5-2. Uh, he has historically, when we're down, put four strikers on, which is not really 3-5-2. It's just it's throwing the kitchen sink and hoping something
Yep.
happens. So this was the first time in the second half he did 3-5-2, and it absolutely worked wonders. It really did. It was the first time this season that we played a type of football which these players were designed for. We got it back to 2-2. I suspected, I mean, I was at a wedding in Leicester and I suspected the worst, and it happened. Uh, but the game against Chelsea, which is happening over my shoulder, it was from the get-go, the 3-5-2. I didn't watch the game, I watched the highlights, and it's exactly what these players, as they said, were meant to do. Be physical. There's no real finesse. We bullied Chelsea. Uh, and the goal that we scored first 5-6 minutes was a testimony to the approach. And what I will give Clark credit for was the the emotion of these players must be shot, because we've lost, I think, 5 or 6 on the bounce. Even the game against Man City, perhaps sometimes that's even harder to take. Do you know, when you claw yourself
Yeah.
back into the game and then end up losing in the last sort of dying embers of the game. So the confidences must have been quite low. The one thing I will also give Fark is that he's not lost the dressing room. The players have continually put in a shift for him, albeit it's always been backs against the wall. It's always been difficult. But this was sort of Leeds sort of version, sort of 2.0, which is the version that I want to see for the remainder of the season. Not saying that we're going to be safe, but it gives us a damn good chance of staying up if we continue to play in this format. So absolutely delighted. Falk finally listened, and I will say he listened to the fans. Or he had to listen to the fans, because the way he was going, he was going to be out of a job. Simple as that. So this is really where, so that the fans probably knew better than Daniel Fark. So he's listened to us, and if he listens to the fans, sometimes you might reap the rewards. So he's sort of reaped the rewards. Outstanding from the team. I mean, I've got to say, every single player was man of the match. Every player put in a shift. I mean, the front two guys, Nemecha and Daniel Farr. I mean, I don't know whether you watched the game, but on watching the highlights, I mean, they put in a shift and a half, and they were hustling, they were harrying, and they really, I mean, they put the Chelsea defenders under tremendous pressure, and the midfield as well. They sort of worked their socks off, and it was an outstanding team performance, and a real template for going forward. I mean, I talked about, or we sort of mentioned the Arsenal game versus Sunderland being a template for how teams can approach playing uh, Arsenal.
Mm.
This was a template of how teams that perhaps don't have the skill set should approach playing the better teams, which, if you're one of the promoted teams, every team probably will be the better team, apart from most of the teams that came up. So a wonderful performance. It played to our strengths, and I was absolutely chuffed to bits, because I never expected from Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool. I expected 0 points, and I expected drubbings. And this is a damn good Chelsea side. Don't underestimate. I mean, Maresco was very gracious in defeat. He gave
Yeah.
credit where it's due, and he did give he did sort of give compliments to Leeds. So he wasn't really sort of trying to find excuses. But outstanding performance. And really, when you do play to your strengths, you're probably going to reap the rewards. So it's fantastic. I'm absolutely, as I said, I'm over the moon, delighted, and I can't wait for the game on Saturday against Liverpool. That should be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a huge turnaround for Leeds. Look at what you've just said there. I mean, I think back to Leeds' performances in the Premier League over the previous seasons. You'll know better than I do. That even when they've won games, they've struggled in certain large periods of the game. You're thinking that we're just getting away with the skin of our teeth in terms of, opportunities missed by the opposition. And you're getting by, maybe you're beating some of the teams that you should beat, but you're never really beating the teams that you are comfortably inferior to, which you were yesterday, let's be honest. And for Leeds to put forward that kind of performance, I didn't watch the game because obviously it clashed with the Arsenal game. Um, but following the game in terms of Sky Sports, BBC, and all the rest of it, it was very clear that Leeds thoroughly, thoroughly deserved that victory. You're right. There was a huge amount of praise for the two up front. There was a lot of credit in a sense for the crowd as well, because it seemed like real bouncing atmosphere. Chelsea never got going. I think their first real proper opportunity was the goal, which was by all intents and purposes some poor defending, really. I mean, to get beaten like that. But
Mm.
just, I mean, for Leeds to respond like they did, I mean, you must have been absolutely thinking the worst, thinking we've absolutely pelted Chelsea over here. Now here we go, 2-1, half an hour left. We know how this story ends, right? It's a 3-2
Mm.
victory. And then you've got Cole Palmer coming on. So you're thinking, here we go. And that's probably what your lad was thinking as well, thinking, right, we've been crap, but we've got an opportunity to dig ourselves. And this comes off the back of probably what was one of the best performances this season in terms of Chelsea against Arsenal. I mean, 10 men, you're thinking this team, yes, they're missing Caicedo, but 11 against Leeds, I mean, they should have too much. So for the fact that Leeds deserved to win that game, deserved to win it as comfortably in a sense as they did and got their rewards, I mean, you've got to be pleased. And the biggest upshot of all of this is you're not at the halfway mark. Uh, you're in a good little space. I mean, Wolves look done and dusted by all intents and purposes. You've got to feel as though now Leeds can really look forward to some games with optimism, thinking, well, we've got a formation that we know can work, can upset some of the big boys. We can get some potency off the back of that as well. You'd think this is going to be pretty much his staple tactics moving forward until teams start to work them out a little bit. So the fact that he's added this wrinkle at a time when there's still opportunities to survive in this league, which they have, absolutely. I think even you must be thinking, right, we've got a better chance now than we did, let's say, 7 days ago. The team's confident, so I just think they'll really take a lot of confidence into Saturday. I mean, I'm sure you'd probably take a draw right now. I know Liverpool are struggling, but it's still one of the big boys.
Mm.
You'd be like, just keep some momentum going. But if Leeds can take a draw or even better, I mean, that just really sets you up moving forward. So yeah, big credit to the manager, big credit to the team, big credit to the front two as well. I've been Dominic Calvert-Lewin's biggest critics, and he put forward, it seems, a very good performance. So yeah, fantastic, fantastic performance by Leeds. And if I was to ask you right now, are you, because last week you were down in the dumps. Let's be very clear, and it doesn't take much to get you there. What would you say? You must feel a lot more optimistic now about your chances of survival. Something that you didn't think you could get at the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a strange season because I mean we obviously started off by beating Everton first game of the season.
Mm.
Wasn't a great game, but we still had a battle. We struggled. I mean, we've had a couple of against Bournemouth. I mean, Bournemouth were a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good side. We should have won against Fulham. We
Last kick of the
conceded
game.
late on.
Yeah.
We battled. Yeah, against Tottenham, it was a very even game. I mean, they've got much better players, but they beat us 2-1. Aston Villa as well. It was we were there or thereabouts, sort of scrapping. So we've sort of competed. But this was the first time I actually had belief. Do you know the performance? That actually it was all 11 players playing a system which was comfortable for them. They were designed for that type of system. And I think the performance and the result as well, because I think it's all well and good saying the performance, but
Yeah.
we've had performances in the past where we've not had a result. But in games previously, we've scrapped. This was more of a case of, right, this is how we play. This gives us the best opportunity to get a result. And by a result, I mean sort of win the game. So now, genuinely, I have a cause for optimism.
Yeah.
Um, I would sort of still temper that with sort of saying that, look, there are lots of good sides out there. Uh, this worked against Chelsea. If it works against Chelsea, I'd expect it to work against other teams as well. Because in a sense, there's you could say, well, teams play direct, but it's difficult to defend because
Mm.
there's a certain amount of it's almost sort of it takes away skill. It almost sort of you're relying on sort of brute force. That's what we did. We just sort of we bullied the opposition. And as I said, you can try and prepare, but that's almost the hardest thing to prepare for because I, mean, I suppose if you've got intricate sort of uh, sort of plays, you can almost try and sort of work on that. But if you've just got
Mm.
a team that's going to bully you, it's almost slightly more difficult to sort of defend again. So I'm hopeful. I'm much more hopeful now than I was sort of in the morning yesterday because I think Daniel Fark as well has realised that this is the only way that we can play. Forget all this playing out from the back. Just play direct. It gives us the best chance. And as I said, I'm more optimistic now than I was. And I'm actually quite looking forward to Liverpool because I think we could upset Liverpool because they're not playing great at this moment in time. I think we have a style of player that is going to be difficult because we've got, I think, 6 or 7 players who are over 6 feet. We've got a lot of physical strength. Uh, and unless you're going to match us for that physicality, I think teams will struggle. So it's going to be interesting and it's going to be exciting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it just shows how quickly the Premier League can change. It is quite tight there at the bottom, where a couple of wins. I mean, look at Bournemouth in terms of them slipping. They're right in amongst it at the moment. So I think United are playing West Ham tonight. Correct me if I'm
Big game today.
mistaken. And if
Yeah,
United do beat West Ham, United got a huge win at the weekend away at Palace. Tough ground to go. So that would put West Ham continuing in a sense in the mire. So you'll be supporting United there in that game. So yeah, look, they're really in with a shot. Burnley have to some extent competed well, but their Achilles heel is they're not scoring enough, are they? So um,
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see. I think this goes to the wire. The question is whether or not Leeds have stumbled on something here, and not just a formation, but a belief. I still believe that crowd can really work in their favour. It's a different
Mm,
type of crowd when and like you said, I think Leeds have to play that type of way to get the crowd in amongst it, to get
mm.
a little bit of that kind of euphoria. To make the opposition feel. I mean, Chelsea, they were second best pretty much all night, apart from maybe perhaps a little period in the second half. So for you to do that to one of the big boys who competed incredibly well with 10 men against the team that's top of the table, that's real good value
Yeah,
from a Leeds
absolutely.
perspective. So
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely, I'm pleased for you, chuffed for you. And if they can follow up with back-to-back wins at the weekend, you'll be
Oh wow.
absolutely giddy.
Oh wow. That it I mean that probably will be in terms of what we've achieved in the Premier League, even though we finished ninth in the first season that we came back the first time.
Yep,
That was COVID. So I still sort of think that was almost like an exceptional year. This will be perhaps uh in fact, it will be the best accomplishment because if we can beat 2 teams, I mean, I don't care what form Liverpool are in, they're defending champions. So at the end of
yep.
the day, if you can beat Chelsea and Liverpool back to back and almost have a result against Man City, I mean, that is just it's incredible and it should give tremendous confidence for the rest of
Yep.
the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Time will tell. It's like I said, it's very tight down there. I think you've given yourself a real shot. Again, Wolves look doomed. I think they are doomed. There's no doubt. I mean, I don't think any team survived with 2 points from their first 13,
Yeah,
14 games.
yeah.
I think they are destined for the relegation. But then after that, it's probably two from 6, 7, maybe even 8. It's still early doors. Look at Bournemouth again. I
Mm.
come back to it. I don't think they'll go down, but they're sliding down. A team that was flying high early in the season. If you remember, they were second for large
Yeah,
periods of the early part of the season. So, yeah, time will tell. But like I said, today I think Leeds can feel really confident about the fact that they can outwit some of those teams at the bottom there. Yes, some of those teams are still picking up the odd result here and there, no doubt. But there's enough teams there where Leeds can think if we can get on a run here, and you're right, the Saturday game looms large, tough game, still, irrespective of Liverpool's form. But if you win there, I'd be interested to see what the bookies' odds are because I think they might have you favoured to survive.
yeah. I mean, if we do beat them up, I'll probably be quite confident and quite bullish to say that we will stay up. But this is Leeds United. They they've let me down many a time before, so hopefully this is not a false dawn. But let's see what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Switching gears, Ayub, to the top of the table. We've not spoken for a little while on the all the happenings of the different games. Obviously, Arsenal played Chelsea at the weekend. Good win for them yesterday against Brentford. Below par. I'm going to throw the floor to yourself first. What have you made of it with the recent shifts? Liverpool seem a little bit adrift. Villa flying high. Huge game at the weekend. Saturday midday. Arsenal travel to Villa Park. They're really flying at the moment. Big win for them yesterday. Winning from coming back from I think 2 goals down against Brighton. So Where do you see it? How did it stand? Have you changed your mind in terms of this is a foregone conclusion, or have you seen enough to suggest actually we may well have quite a tight title race down the wire?
I'm even more convinced now it's a foregone conclusion because Man City, I still consider to be the only sort of worthy contenders, but they're just struggling. I mean, they've had two wins and I mean, they beat us just about barely, and it was the same. I mean, they were 5-1 up, and I must confess, I mean, I watched the game and at 5-1, I didn't think they deserved to be 5-1 up. It was a strange, bizarre game. I think Fulham sort of gave it a really good go. And even at 5-1, any other time, I mean, if it's a team that's going to win the title, or at least challenge for the title at 5-1, it should be a foregone conclusion. The fact that they nearly blew it is a reflection of where they're at this moment in time. I mean, they'll score goals because they've got Erling Haaland and they've got a little bit of quality, but defensively they're woeful, absolutely shocking. I mean, even we sort of hustled them, scored two goals. Fulham scored four goals. Should have really had a fifth goal as well to level. I mean, that would have been that. Just I have no idea what Guardiola would have done. He probably would have topped himself if they would have equalised after being 5-1 up. So there's only one team that is playing really dominant. I mean, Aston Villa, they're playing all right, but they're not going to be competing. Liverpool, forget them; they're out of the equation. Chelsea, I mean, I suppose the result yesterday is the reason why they won't sort of challenge for the number one spot because they'll just keep on having the odd result like this. So the only team that is just performing like a machine, I've said it before, and I will say it throughout the season there is nobody that's going to touch Arsenal. They just won't. They've got the playing personnel. They can play any type of football. I mean, and we've said it before. If people want to, I mean, if Leeds want to play the type of football they played against Chelsea, Arsenal will match them. If Leeds try and play football, or if any team tries to play football, they'll match them. So there is nothing that they can't do, and they're just playing with such confidence and exuberance, and they've so much belief. I know they've not done it, and that's always the question. People are sort of saying that, look, they've not done it. They'll have that wobble. I can't see who is out there at this moment in time who can compete. There isn't anybody. I mean, normally we would say Liverpool, would say Man City, would probably sort of say Chelsea will be in there with a shout. There's nobody. Nobody can touch them. So for me, it's a foregone conclusion. The only thing worth fighting for now is probably two, three, and four.
Yeah, look, I don't subscribe to that, although I do agree with a lot of what you said in terms of the analysis of where Arsenal stand, especially compared to the other teams that you would expect to be in the hunt. It was an interesting conversation I had with your lad actually on Sunday night. I went Oman for 3 to 4 days, National Day holidays here, so we had a little break. So we drove to Oman and we were staying over. So I watched the game there, and it was the first time he'd piped up in a month, I should say, or if it's been a few months that I heard from more. Often the way, as it seems, and he spoke about how he'd seen a couple of flaws in terms of the approach that certain teams had taken against Arsenal, and how they had perhaps, they had some questions to answer, and it's very difficult in a written kind of exchange. But I retorted to explain that, look, I thought Chelsea were very good, I was gracious in my response. I thought Chelsea deserved a point. Let's be very clear, just in terms of the way they didn't let Arsenal get into any momentum and what have you. But the one thing I pointed out to him was exactly what you just said, which is that do Arsenal have some flaws? They have some subtle flaws. I'll give you that. I think we can get into that. But they have the least amount of flaws, and it's not close. And that's the key. And I didn't drop him a message last night because I try and show a little bit of good grace, Ayub, as you know. But where I could have had a little bit of a tinker. But this is the issue, isn't it? I mean, Chelsea looked really good against Arsenal in terms of, especially tactically. And you're right about Maresca. He was very gracious yesterday. And he was gracious before the game where he was asked the funny question about the formation. And he said, well, I don't know. Daniel Farke has set up in a 4-4-2 75 times or whatever it was, and what have you. And he's only played 3-5-2, 13-4. It was quite a funny little exchange with the reporter, but he goes, in the end, I don't know what formation he's going to play. So, but Enzo Maresca had a great, I thought, tactical approach against Arsenal. He deserves huge credit for that. But then you come up against Leeds and you're thinking, right, double that up. Yes, you're missing Caicedo, but with respect to Leeds, Hugh, and I do say with respect, you've got to still rise above that you've not got Caicedo. So for them to put forward such an inept performance again, albeit against a bit of a rejuvenated Leeds side who took a bit of confidence from the weekend effort, let's say against City, that's the issue, isn't it? These teams who
Mm.
still show some vulnerabilities. City are conceding fours, they're conceding twos against Leeds and Fulham. And that's where you think, although they've got an absolute monster up front who's just broken the record in terms of
Mm.
fastest to 100 goals, broke it, I think, by about 12 games against Shearer, who did it in 124 games. You still feel it's Haaland or bust. I mean, they put together that wonderful performance against Liverpool, where it was the first time I thought, maybe I was wrong, actually. That was a real good team performance. But I still think he's the key. And if they keep him fit and firing and he keeps scoring goals, and now they've got a slightly rejuvenated forward, maybe. But you're right, there's vulnerabilities there. You can't concede
Yeah.
four at Fulham and two at home to Leeds. Yes, they've won both games, and that's huge credit to them. But you sense not quite the force that they once were. And you're right, Arsenal are just about keeping them at bay. Huge game at Villa Park on Saturday. Arsenal just looked like yesterday they weren't at their best, Ayub. Far from it. I thought Brentford
Mm.
did okay without laying a glove, shall we say, apart from that one header which Ryan saved well from. But Arteta took the opportunity to rotate his squad. He took the opportunity to give some key players some minutes, which I think will be important down the stretch. But they picked up a win, and it's a clean sheet, and that's what this Arsenal team does. They defend with bodies, they defend in numbers, their commitment, their attitude to defending, their duels, and that's the one thing I don't see from any other team. Even Chelsea, to some extent. Yes, I saw it against Arsenal, but that's one game. I see it from Arsenal week in, week out, where they're competing, they're scrapping, they're fighting every single duel. And like you said, if it's a team that wants to mix it, they'll happily mix it. They've got
Mm.
the big boys to deal with that. They've got even the understudies, I would say, to deal with that. But then if you want to have a game of football, you're also running the risk because they've got some
Mm.
incredible footballers at the top end of the pitch. So it really is a pick your poison type thing with Arsenal. Look, they are the best team in the league. I've still not seen anything to deter me from that, albeit it was a slightly frustrating opportunity missed on Sunday. But they win this game. They go into the Villa game. I think they're home to Wolves after that, which you've got to feel as though they're going to win or they should win against a team that looks destined for relegation. So if they can pick up 3 points, Ayub, at Villa Park, they will feel as though we've just gone through Spurs, Chelsea, Brentford, and Villa. And if we've not lost games and won three and let's say draw one, that's a huge boost. And that's a bit of a gut punch for some of the other rivals who would have
Mm.
thought, they're probably going to come unstuck in one of these games. So yeah, fantastic so far from Arsenal. They keep marching. I don't think it's a done and dusted situation. If Villa win, that's 3 points behind Arsenal for Villa, and they are absolutely flying. You're right. Do I think they've got enough? No, but at some point you've got to stand up and take notice. If it's 25 games in a and they're still there, you're thinking,
Mm.
well, are they gonna do it? So yeah, incredible from Arsenal so far. I do think there's a little bit of just very quickly, a little bit of narrative, which I think is with some of it's with a bit of ill intent, but I'm not too bothered. Where it's a case of, well, this Arsenal team, let's see, they've had a great start. I heard this a lot on the radio. They've had a great start to the season, yet they're only five clear. Or even Liverpool, they've been struggling so far, and they're only nine behind at that time. And I remember thinking, well, people say Arsenal have a great season as though they can't continue to have a great season. It's as though they're
Mm.
definitely going to get pulled to the pack, let's say, or have some sort of regression. And your eyes tell you that they shouldn't. Because when you watch the games of football, even yesterday when they weren't at the best, it wasn't as though Brentford were killing them, like all over them, like
Mm.
Leeds were against Chelsea. It was a case of, well, Brentford are getting a bit of the ball, but are they really going to open up and slice this Arsenal defence open? And that's the thing. Teams know when Arsenal go a goal up, it's going to take a monumental effort more
Mm.
times than not to get back in the game. So a lot of it is between the ears, as you say. So yeah, so far so good from an Arsenal perspective. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I think there's more work to be done, but I think if they can put together another five solid games where you're thinking, yep, a lot of wins, maybe the occasional draw, then I think they'll have really done some of the hard yards already. So yeah, let's see. Time will tell. Just slightly switching gears, are you to a team that should be in the title race but aren't? Is Liverpool. Got a good win at the weekend against West Ham, although I thought West Ham were championship standard football from Nuno. Didn't lay a
Mm.
glove, to be honest with you. Absolutely ridiculous sending off. of Lucas Paqueta at the end of that game as well. Just shocking. I just could not believe my eyes as to what I was watching. How do you see it from a Liverpool perspective? Yesterday, I would argue, for large part, second best against a wonderful Sunderland team. That's what they are. They're a wonderful team to watch, actually. I really enjoyed watching them. It's the first time I've watched them quite closely, I should say, other than the Arsenal game. How do you see it from a Liverpool perspective? Got out of jail with an equaliser, I think 83rd minute or something, what have you, from an own goal. Where do you stand today on the whole Liverpool situation? Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, firstly, they got out of jail twice because they, if it weren't for Chiesa and a
Yep.
little bit of good work from Alisson as well, they would have
Yep.
lost the game 2-1. So
Great pass from the
in the end,
goalkeeper. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. In a sense, it could have been a lot worse. It's that perennial question, isn't it? Really, it is the $64,000 question. What is the problem at Liverpool? Because I don't think anybody's really been able to put the finger on it. Has he lost the dressing room? It certainly appears to be the case. There doesn't seem to be as much harmony as there usually is at Liverpool. And I suppose when you're losing, it always affects the mentality. But you've got players who are proven. I mean, Virgil van Dijk, this is a shadow of the player that he was last season, and he has been. Same with Salah. I mean, we are talking about players obviously in the 30s, so age does catch up with you. But I don't think that this is an age thing because last season they were exceptional. I just think there is something fundamentally not right. I think a lot of it sort of emanates from Slot. I don't think he quite has the respect. I don't know why, because last season obviously it was everybody was singing from the same hymn sheet. They've had departures. We've talked about the Jota death as well. So there's obviously been a lot of things that have happened, and losing Diaz was massive. I used to I was a huge fan of Diaz, and I thought Diaz was a player that they probably couldn't afford to lose because he not only was an outstanding footballer, but he worked damn hard. I mean, I've seen him live in the flesh as well, and I watched him in a cup final, the Carabao Cup final against Chelsea, and this was into added time, into injury time, into extra time. I think it was the game that was. I don't know whether it was extra time, but it was added time. But he was still running up and down. He put in such hard work. Darwin Núñez, who never quite sort of fulfilled his potential. But the one thing you always got from Darwin Núñez was you got commitment, you got enthusiasm. And I think it was a character that there are some players that just sort of, I think, put a smile on your face. And he was one of them types of players that when he did score, you could see the joy, the unadulterated joy in all the other players. So they genuinely had a great deal of affection for Darwin Núñez. And then obviously you had Diego Jota as well, such a well-respected character.
Yeah.
He was somebody that was universally liked. So there's a number of characters who were key to perhaps that sort of atmosphere, that thing that made Liverpool what they were. You've lost three of those characters, so it must have an impact. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's you know. I mean, obviously, from a working perspective, if you lose somebody that's really popular within an office setup, it does have an impact because, in a sense, the place perhaps isn't as bright as it once used to be.
You
If
should
you've
have
sort
told
of
me. I
multiple
would have if you told me before if you told me how you really felt, I wouldn't have moved to the UAE,
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
We can relate. I mean, it's football, but we can relate because
yeah.
if you do lose, I mean, there's a wonderful clip in The Shawshank Redemption. I don't know. I'm sure it's a clip I've sort of played to when Morgan Freeman talks about some birds weren't meant to be caged, and when they go, uh, you know that it's the right thing. But
Do it
obviously,
justice. Do it justice. Do the line
I'm not
justice.
sure. Yeah,
He says some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are too bright. Do it justice. Come on, are you?
yeah. Well, I'd forgotten what it was, but I knew it was along the lines of caged
Yeah,
and bright. But
yeah,
and it must have had an impact. I think it has to have had an impact. That obviously their working environment perhaps isn't as joyful as it once was, and maybe some players are obviously being affected by it. But ultimately, that's up to the coach. The coach is there; he's paid top dollar to sort of make sure that when there are seismic changes to a football club, that he somehow sort of tries to sort of navigate through murky waters. Now, Slot's just not been able to do it. Uh, I think Liverpool fans are being cheated. As to who's doing the cheating, I'm not too sure. Is it Slot? And I always make the head coach the man who has to bear the brunt. So I would sort of say at the moment there's a fundamental issue. It emanates from Slot. Slot's not able to get the best out of these players. Uh, and I think questions have to be asked that if he's not able to arrest this indifferent form, then maybe somebody else needs to be brought to the helm because he's certainly not getting the best out of these really good players. I mean, these make no there's no sort of doubt. Liverpool have some very, very good players. I mean, there are some players who are starting to shine. Certainly, Florian Wirtz, I think now he's showing glimpses of why they've paid that much money. I mean, whether he's worth that much money is a different conversation, but he's certainly showing a great deal of quality. But there's a lot of players who are underperforming, and they continue to underperform. So, for my part, if I was in any way associated with that football club and I had to make a decision, the decision would be to get rid of Slot.
Goodness gracious, are you? Right. Wow. Look, I mean, I watched the game yesterday in between the Arsenal game and the Arsenal game. I think was staggered from the Liverpool kickoff by about 45 minutes. So I was able to catch all of the second half plus 15 minutes uh, at the start of the game as well. Just like to cover the game just very quickly, Ayub. Firstly, from a Sunderland perspective, they play some lovely football. It's really nice to watch. They mix it up, but they've always got options. They play some good stuff on the floor. They look potent. They look like they're going to create some opportunities. So first and foremost, wonderful result for them, another huge fillip for them, and they are a team that's going to survive relatively comfortably because they're just competing so well in the game in the 95 minutes. From a Liverpool perspective, just very quickly, you spoke very briefly about Van Dijk. My son and I were having a slight disagreement yesterday whilst watching the game. I, I think Van Dijk is a pantheon great in terms of centre backs in the Premier League. I was making the case a couple of years ago that I was just wondering where is he going to go down. I have John Terry as the greatest defender, centre back in the history of the Premier League. I was just wondering where Van Dijk was potentially going to finish, and at that time I thought he needs at least one more title, which he's now got. And I think he still goes down as pantheon great. Let's not get it twisted. I'm not going to make the leap just based off one game yesterday. Absolutely not. I'm not trying to connect the two. But I got really frustrated with him yesterday because, you know, he has such lofty standards for himself. And this style of defending that has perhaps this style, this mode, this temperament of defending that he's exhibited over the years has been an absolute joy to watch. He's been a class above from a centre back perspective. But yesterday, to your point, he just looked a bit shaky. You saw how he lost the ball for the goal, Ayub, in terms of just played it into no man's land. And I'm a I get super frustrated by defenders who defend the way he did for that goal. He's got to go to the man. And I mean vertically go engage the man. Now, Liverpool have had this before. If you think about Van Dijk himself, if you think about the scored by Semenyo earlier this season, where you're thinking, go to him, go to him. You think about the goal Caicedo scored earlier this season, you're thinking, go to him, go to him. And it's not just him, it's Konate as well, but just yesterday. Then you think about the Real Madrid cross famously in the Champions League final that got to Vinicius. You remember how he tries to defend with this kind of arched back, trying to play both sides. And look, he's very good at making attackers take the wrong option. Let's not get it wrong. But you think about famously against Jadon Sancho at Old Trafford when James Milner was giving him a right rocket to go engage. And you saw it earlier this season again with Mbeumo. You're thinking, it's so passive. I mean, he's running off you. You've got to follow your man. So his intensity from a defensive perspective has dropped and it's costing them goals. If he'd just gone and engaged, he wouldn't have got as big a deflection off his hip that then nestled into the bottom corner. So he's got to lead from the front. Look, he's a top defender still. I don't think he's the best in the league right now, though. I don't think he's the best in the league. His standards have diminished somewhat. Do I think he can get back to the best? Yeah, absolutely he can, but it's symptomatic of where Liverpool are. And the other thing about Slot and Liverpool right now, Yub, is, and you spoke rightly about words. I like what I saw yesterday. And the number one thing that I like about him more than anything, and I watched him now closely in a lot of games at Yub, is not only does he pop up everywhere, which can be a blessing and a curse, because now coaches like structure. They like a little bit more discipline. You'll think, generally speaking, we don't really have too many number 10s of you in terms of just being given this kind of free
mm,
role. There's a structure to how coaches want their teams to set up. So he'll have to work within the confines of that structure, at least to thrive in the Premier League, in my opinion. But he does not hide. And I love that about that footballer. He's genuinely always looking for the ball, comes left,
mm,
comes right, goes short, plays what I believe to be our relatively progressive passes where he can. He's constantly playing for give and goes. I love footballers who want to try and make things
mm,
happen. So you're right. Look, he's had a tough start. I don't think we've been too tough on him. It's always difficult. He's young. He's coming to a football club that's grieving. It's not an easy setup just to kind of slot in comfortably. But he's slowly showing some signs, isn't he? And that was a good amount of
mm,
class that he showed for that goal. Tight spaces, vertical passes, left foot, right foot, poise, feinting. Deserved a bit of luck for the goal, and I'm pleased for him. But right now, Liverpool just look like they're playing at 100 miles per hour or 0 miles per hour. Everything looks a little bit chaotic. It's hectic. It's fast. It just feels a bit too out of control for my liking. And yesterday, I genuinely felt as though if they didn't pick up that equalizer, I felt for the first time that there were going to be at least some justifiable noise about, well, this coach just he can't get the best out of this group, and he's got major issues. Ayub, he's got a right winger, a world class right winger who's a legend of the game, who's just struggling big time at the moment. Will he ever be able to
mm,
get that form back? He's got a centre back who's struggling. The other centre back's having an absolute mare of a season in terms of Ibrahim Kanate. Gomez had a good game against West Ham. Maybe took a little bit of a step back yesterday. McAllister, you know my thoughts on him this season. He's been really poor. I thought yesterday again, just not enough bite and dynamism in that midfield. So look, they've got huge personal issues everywhere. I'm like you, subscribe to the when Diaz. There were some rumors about buying. I was like, no way, you cannot lose the type of pace and verticality that this guy offers. So you're seeing that. They're in a world of trouble, are you? They're in a world of trouble. They don't look like a good, solid, cohesive football team, and teams are playing through them with ease in terms of as long as teams show a little bit of ambition, Ayub, it is not difficult to create opportunities against this Liverpool team. Compare that to this Arsenal team that are as stingy as it gets in
mm,
terms of creating opportunities. Doesn't mean Arsenal won't concede. Of course they will. It's a game of football, but they want to defend. They really want to defend. They want to scrap. They want to battle, and that's what I want to see as a fan. I want my team scrapping at the back, not giving anything away. So they're struggling. It could be a lost season. They are not playing anywhere near good enough in terms of the standards that are held for that football club. So yeah, huge issues. It's the first time I've entertained the possibility. I don't think he loses his job in the middle of the season, but if they just have one of those so-so seasons and there's a little bit of negative noise coming out of the dressing rooms, wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool took a call and took a tough call depending on the alternatives out there. So yeah, very difficult times. Yes, some of them are flying high, but make no mistake, that's a game that the Liverpool faithful would have been looking at and thinking that's we've got to get 3 points there. So a real struggle. Let's see how they fare. But with the season being long, they won't want a long and arduous season where it just drifts into perhaps mid-table mediocrity, which is unfortunately what they are right now. Are you?
mm. Yeah. The only thing is, Salah's always scoring against Leeds. Every game, I think every game that he's ever played against Leeds, he scored. So that's my fear that he'll sort of start. I think I've got a feeling that he'll probably start. And I think if Slot is a historian of the game, he'll know that against Leeds he always scores. And it, it's I mean it's a shame because I do have a soft spot for Liverpool. Obviously I want them not to obviously have a good performance, but I've just got a feeling that I don't know for some reason Salah will score. But I hope that their poor run of form continues. But unlike you, I think Slot has to go. I think he's not going to get a tune out of these players because if he would have, he would have done it by now. So I can't see it improving. So if it's not going to improve, then what is the point of prolonging continuing somebody in the job if they're not having the impact that they should have?
Yeah, it's a fair point, but Ayub, I mean, this is unprecedented in some respects, isn't it, Ayub? A guy comes in, follows a legend in, wins at the first time of asking, and rave reviews. He did not put a foot wrong.
Hmm.
I would argue. I think there was only one time I was a bit disappointed. I think at the time when I think he played a relatively full side against Southampton, I think it was before the PSG game, and I think I called it out for it as well, saying he really should have rotated in that game strongly because they were, I think, 10 clear or something or the other. But other than that, he did not put a foot wrong last season, won the title. But this is unprecedented to have this type of downturn. I mean, yeah, you might struggle a little bit, but
Mm, mm,
they look like any game of football they could lose because teams are just
mm,
creating consistent opportunities against them. And Sunderland yesterday, I mean, that chance at the end. Yes,
mm,
Alisson's probably as difficult a goalkeeper to beat, and you're right, Chiesa did fantastically well. But if that striker has a little bit more conviction, I mean, he's scoring that, and that may have been all she wrote for Arne Slot at Anfield. So that chance may well be, in a
mm,
sense, the turning point. So yeah, look, I think this is unprecedented in terms of this type of downturn. Yes, teams struggle; they don't always go back to back for obviously, but right now this is he looks like he's struggling. The manager looks like he's struggling for answers. It's not clear. I think he wants to now just entrust the team in the guise of Wirtz and Isak. Isak's really struggling. Great finish against West Ham, but yesterday I thought didn't really offer much. And you think about the
mm.
Newcastle player, carrying
Yeah,
himself around with a bit of swagger, drifting to the left, taking players on left, right, and some of his finishing was ridiculously good. It's why Liverpool paid the big bucks for him. He looks a shadow of himself, Ayub. He looks
yeah,
really like the shirt's wearing heavy on him right now. So, yeah, look, they've got a ton of issues. I think some things will have to be addressed in the transfer market. I'm talking about key personnel, but they've perhaps got to look at maybe shipping one or two key players out as well to make, let's say, room in that dressing room for some of the other younger players to come through. He's got a big job on his hands. He wouldn't have envisaged that. I think at the start of the season, I think he would have envisaged perhaps, putting forward the same type of consistency that he did last season. He could not have foreseen the challenges of basically most of his first team essentially dropping one or two levels at least in terms of their high standards. So yeah, a real struggle for Arne Slot. He needs to find some answers. That club is not as forgiving as it would be, let's say, if it was Jurgen Klopp at the helm. So time will tell if he can make it through to a third season, which is incredible when you say it like that for a guy who's
mm,
delivered a
yeah.
Premier League title. So time will tell.
And I've got nothing more to add on that apart from slot out.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it? I mean, now that you're more of a Daniel Farker man, you're looking at which other managers that you could force to get jobs.
Yeah, but
How
I
many
don't, as
times?
I said,
How many times are you going to
yeah.
watch that game now?
No, it's a different game. It's Wolves. It's I didn't realize. I thought it was the whole game that I put on, but apparently it was just the highlights. This is the Wolves game against Forest. Uh, so because I knew this was because I was looking whilst we were talking, and I could sort of see a goal that Neto scored, and I'm sure that was sort of 45 minutes plus, and I'm sort of thinking, hang on, we've not been talking for that long. I know sometimes it does appear to be the
Yeah,
case. So I sort of suspected that it's not the full highlights, it's just the limited highlights. But that's Forest, who've got a wonderful result. That was a good result, but against a team that's going down. So wasn't great, but today is a massive, massive game, which I hope Man United do us a favour. But apart from that, I'm just looking forward to Saturday and hopefully 3 points, which I never thought I'd say a few days ago against Liverpool. I was thinking no chance, but I'm actually quietly confident. And on
yeah,
that
it's
note, I
good.
think we should end because it's a positive note.
It's a positive note. It's rare that we do end on a positive note because Leeds rarely win. Let's be honest. I will tell you. I will tell you a funny. I will tell you a funny little story. I was in Oman, and to be honest with you, I was walking through these kind of market stalls. You get those lovely little market stalls and what have you. And I checked the score for the first time, and I think it was 2-0. Anyway, carrying on with the evening, and I'm thinking, as I'm refreshing my score, I'm thinking this could be anything. I've triple captain Haaland as well, so I'm thinking let's hope it's a 6-0 drubbing because when Leeds lose a couple of early goals at you, we know what comes there afterwards.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was shocked. I pressed refresh. I swear I had to do a double take. I was like, hang on, is this the game that's going on now for Leeds? I mean, that never happens to you. That never ever happens to
Yeah,
Leeds United Football Club, where you go to one of the big boys, you're 2-0 down early, and you bring it back. And then I started reading, and we're like, Leeds competing very well. Then I saw like 7 or was it 9 minutes or 10 minutes or something
10,
added
10
on
minutes.
to 10 added on, and the next refresh I did 3-2. I was like, yep.
Yeah, boredom.
Uh,
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened to me. I was in Leicester at a wedding. That's exactly what happened. I mean, I just, even at 2-2, I just kept on feeling that they've just got that extra little bit of quality. Uh, but with hindsight, I mean, it's a gutting blow because obviously with the result we've got, it would have been just fantastic to like hold Man City, to win against Chelsea, and obviously if we can sort of turn Liverpool over, I mean that it's I don't think it could get any more incredible than that. But obviously it's that's gone because obviously we lost against Man City.
Right, that's all we've got time for today, you. But let's see what Saturday brings. Hopefully, who knows, for you, back-to-back wins. I'm happy for you, genuinely so. It's a huge result for Leeds United Football Club, and honestly, it feels like the whole momentum and confidence of that football club has been turned perhaps by the last 4 to 5 days in terms of the performance put forward by that club. Let's see what the viewers think. Will Leeds survive? Are you in the camp of Ayub, who also feels as though the title race is done and dusted? I'm a little bit more cautious for obvious reasons, mainly because I'm a reasonable soul as opposed to Ayub, who's
No, 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 no.
a bit prone to hyperbole from time to time. But put your comments in, see what you think. Let us know. Do we have a title race? Do we not? Who are Leeds going to survive? So until the next time, Ayub, we'll see you again soon. Thank you.